Today we're talking 5 levels of leadership by John. Hold on, what's leadership? What is leadership? Surely dictionary.com knows. Let's go find out. Position or function of a leader, a person who guides or directs a group, ability to lead, an act or instance of leading, guidance, direction, the leaders of a group. Well, that was incredibly unhelpful. See, not even dictionary.com knows what leadership is. It's this vague word that everyone throws around, but few really understand what it is. Normally, we just take the leaders in our lives and we steal their character attributes and we just assume that being bold, being a risk taker, is a leader. Those are just some qualities that some leaders might possess. Leadership, at its core function, is really just the ability to influence others. And how you are going to go about that is largely going to depend on your strengths. So tailor it to you. Don't be like any other leader that you see. Be your own leader. Being a leader is hard, and why should you care? Well, the National Association of Colleges and Employers every year puts out a survey to the top companies asking them what qualities they're looking for in their employees. Well, leadership is number 6 on their top 8 competencies, which is essentially just transferable skills. And transferable skills are great because you can take that from your high school football team and apply those same things to your first professional job and every job after that. So all of these companies believing that leadership is really important, you should probably have, or at least be able to describe your leadership because it's going to help you get a job. And that's what we want, to get a job. And if you already have a job, this is still going to help you because it's going to increase your leadership. Leadership doesn't just help you get a job, it helps you excel in your job, especially if you're in charge of others. We're going to use John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership to understand why, how, and what leadership is. Level 1 is just positional leadership. People follow you because they have to. You have your name on a fancy name tag, your name is on a plaque outside of your door, you're the boss. They follow you because they need a paycheck. If the date of your employment is the date of your leadership, you're probably doing it wrong. I would argue that people at this level aren't really leaders, they're more managers or supervisors. There's a second type of positional leadership, and that's whatever your culture finds to be valuable. Maybe on the football team, it's the most athletic person. At the climbing wall, it's the best climber. Maybe you're the most veteran staff. Rarely do we understand our own influence, and your peers are going to look up to you in those types of positions. Level 1 is the most important, yet it's the worst level of leadership, and here's why. It's the most important because this is when people start to realize their influence. They finally come to terms that they can influence others, and they start to realize how they can go about that. If you don't realize what position you're in, you're never going to be able to capitalize on the opportunity that you have to influence others. And my students go through this all the time. It's the most fun thing to watch every year. I can guarantee, because I have student employees, all of my students are student employees, so every year we have seniors graduate. And every year, I can guarantee that there's a junior going into their senior year that they have an aha moment. They're like, oh, I'm the person now. And they come to this realization that they're the next in line to be a leader. Well, more likely than not, when they come to that realization that they're the person now, they've already been the person. They just haven't realized it yet. And it's the worst level because people are going to give you the least amount of their time, energy, and effort. But that's okay, because it's super easy to get to level 2. Let's use Bill Gates as an example here. What do I and Bill Gates have in common? Well, the first 2 things that obviously come to mind is we're both white men. But Bill Gates gets to put one word in front of those 2 words that I don't get to as a recreation professional. Rich white man. See, Bill Gates could donate $1 million to help renovate inner city schools, and largely we wouldn't care. That's because Bill Gates has a ton of money, and $1 million to him is probably like a penny to us. But for some reason, when Bill Gates says that he's going to dedicate his entire Saturday to help renovate inner city schools, we go crazy. His money's going to get it done a lot quicker, paying a lot of people to do it. But his time, what can one relatively old man accomplish in a Saturday, right? But we appreciate his time so much more than his money. And this directly applies to relationship-based leadership. The one thing that Bill Gates and I have in common, and so do you, is we all have 24 hours in every single day. That's why we appreciate his time. Time is a non-refundable and equal resource. We don't get any more of it, and once we spend it, we can't get it back. In this level, people follow us because they want to, and the easiest way to form a relationship with someone is just give them your time. I know so many managers and supervisors that supervise and manage people, but they never take the time to get to know their people. That's the number one attribute of a good leader. I'm going to argue that in level 1, you're a manager or supervisor, but level 2 is really where you start becoming a leader. Time is really just a gateway to trust, and there's 2 different types of trust that you need to know about. The first type of trust is common trust. This is the type of trust that we generally have for everyone. When you hop into an Uber, you just trust that your driver can safely get you from point A to point B by knowing the rules of the road. We typically just inherently have this type of trust for most people. The second type of trust is vulnerability-based trust. And this is earned and given. This type of trust results in people asking for help, admitting mistakes, and keeping other people accountable. This type of trust is just a byproduct of having a relationship. And everyone's going to go about relationship building in a different way. You're going to use your strengths differently than I'm going to use my strengths. And that's exactly what we want. We want this to be tailor-made to you. But I do have 3 tips that should be pretty general and broad to any type of strength set. Tip 1 is to go first. Be the first one to open up and extend that trust to others. When you open up and share about yourself, you demonstrate a vulnerability that fosters trust. Tip 2 is to listen first. Far too often we're listening to reply, not to understand. If you shift that paradigm and you seek to understand before you are understood, that's inherently going to build trust. We like when we're listened to. It feels good, and it doesn't feel good when we're not listened to. And tip 3 is shared experiences. When we share a common experience, it bolsters our sense of belonging and makes us feel more worthwhile. To be a leader, you have to grow beyond your position, and that's why level 2 exists. You don't have to have a fancy title, a name badge outside of your office. You just have to invest in others, and that's all it takes. Start building relationships today. Grow beyond your position. Level 3 is the production level. This is the classic lead by example leadership trope, and it's very true. People do what they see. If I tell you one thing, but I do another, that's not going to sit too well with you. Far too many people, managers and supervisors, try to be travel agents, not tour guides. You want to be a tour guide because you want to send people where you've been. You don't want to be a travel agent sending people where you haven't been. You need the experience. You need to lead by example. People are going to appreciate you setting that example. Now, level 4 and 5 are really hard to get to. It takes a lot of time to get to these levels. Level 4 is the people development level. The most appreciable asset of any organization is its people. And if you invest in the people, you're going to grow the capacity of the organization. And there's essentially a 5-step process for developing people. I've talked about this before in my Sell It, Show It, Do It, Use It model, and this is essentially the same thing. Step 1 is I do it. We teach what we know, but we reproduce what we are. Whatever you are is what you're going to be teaching others, and you should probably make that the best you can make it before you reproduce that in someone else. Step 2 is I do it and you're with me. And this step almost forces you to do level 2 and level 3 because they're with you. If they're with you and you're not forming a relationship and leading by example, you're doing it wrong. Step 3 is you do it and I'm with you. This is where you're actually doing the skills and I'm just there as a safety net. Step 4 is you do it. At this step, you don't need me. You can do every function of your job without me. Step 5 is you do it and someone is with you. This is how we create a culture of leadership. It's not just me as the leader. I am teaching you how to be a leader and you are teaching others how to be a leader. If you recruit, hire, train, and position those employees well within your organization, you're eventually going to get to level 4. Level 5 is the pinnacle level. You've done it so well for so long with so many people that people follow you because of what you've done and the reputation that you've created. Let's take Bill Belichick, for example. Even if you don't follow the NFL, you probably know the name Bill Belichick, or at least the organization he's associated with, the Patriots, because they always win, right? And that's largely because of his leadership. How has he been able to have that level of success for that long? He's at level 5 leadership. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't have skills to be a great coach. I'm saying that those skills that he has is part of his leadership, and that's what makes him a good leader. Let's wrap up. The kicker with this model is that you're on different levels with different people. If I don't have a relationship with someone, I'm probably on level 1, whereas if I do have a relationship, I'm probably on level 2 at least. So just because you're at level 2 with someone doesn't make you a level 2 leader. You can't blanket statement like that. You have to take an individual approach to every person in your life. And that's okay. With some people, you might be level 3. With others, you might be level 1. My challenge to you today is write down all of the people that are your peers or your employees and put a number on that relationship, 1 through 5. If it's 1, that's okay. We can always learn and grow from there. But what I want you to do is in the next 6 months, bump that number up by 1 with every single person. Leadership isn't a noun, it's a verb. You're not gonna call me a leader because I know leadership theory. You're gonna call me a leader because you feel it, you see it. My actions are gonna show to you that I am a leader. You have the roadmap. This information is worthless if you don't actually implement it. So go try it today. What are you waiting for? Go do it. Proud of you, love you, and I'll see you next time. Valuable is the word I'm looking for. Funnest isn't the word. I probably shouldn't use funnest in a YouTube video about education. Probably not.